This is a place where I start to lose faith in RICO. Every time I sit and watch this trial, I am so happy to be a Texan. I don't think that the government should treat us that way. What is RICO? So this is the Georgia Code Crime and Offenses, Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations. It shall be unlawful for any person, through a pattern of racketeering activity or proceeds derived therefrom, to acquire or maintain directly or indirectly any interest in or control of any enterprise, real property, or personal property of any nature, including money. I think that's interesting how they said including money, because they wanted to make sure you weren't going to argue that money isn't property. The most interesting thing is because our Supreme Court has said that money is speech. I would argue that speech is not property and could not be property, and therefore money could not be included. But I'm assuming they know some smartasses like me, and that is why they added including money. B, it shall be unlawful for any person employed or by or associated with any enterprise to conduct in or participate in, directly or indirectly, such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. It shall be unlawful for any person to conspire or endeavor to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B. Here's the definition of racketeering activity. Damn, I wish I could read Roman numerals so I could tell you how many that is. That's a lot. I was a really good student, but I feel like there were some things I just didn't see a use for in my future, and I feel like Roman numerals was one of those. And if we're quite honest, really the only time I ever even need to know what a Roman numeral means is as it pertains to the Super Bowl. So if my kids were struggling with Roman numerals in school, I would tell them not to waste their time. Don't cry about Roman numerals, y'all. Racketeering activity means to commit, to attempt to commit, or to solicit, coerce, or intimidate another person to commit any crime which is chargeable by indictment under the laws of the state involving. This means if you try to break any of these laws, if you ask someone to break the laws for you, if you do break the law, you pay someone to break the law for you, you intimidate someone to break the law for you. And any of these crime which is chargeable by indictment under the laws of the state. Well, in Texas, and I'm going to assume this is true in Georgia, an indictment is used when there's a felony. I don't remember the word when it's a misdemeanor, but it's not indictment. So presumably this is referring to criminal laws and provisions that are felonies. So the first, unlawful distillation, manufacture, and transport of alcoholic beverages. That is like the most 1920 shit I've ever read. Why is that number one? Is there like a big illegal alcohol thing going on in Georgia? Is there a prohibition in Georgia? I don't understand that one. Records and reports of currency transactions in violation of 11. I don't have that in front of me. The Georgia Uniform Securities Act. Securities has to do with selling stocks and investments, that kind of thing. Okay. Assault and battery, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and related offenses. Okay. This is a place where I start to lose faith in RICO. Prostitution, keeping a place of prostitution, pimping, and pandering. I don't understand how being a hooker is racketeering. To me, when I read this, that is, I like to tell people when I sue, I'm going to throw the spaghetti at the wall. So I'm going to put in everything I think we might be able to sue for. I think that's what Georgia did here. Like, let's add prostitution. Burglary, smash and grab burglary. Wow, that's interesting that they define them separately. Arson and explosives, bombs, explosives, and chemical and biological weapons. Theft, robbery, criminal reproduction, and sale of recorded material. Oh, wow. So it's a RICO charge to illegally download music and then sell it. That's so interesting. The Georgia Residential Mortgage Fraud Act. Now, I can guarantee you there are hundreds of people in Georgia who would fall under these RICO charges with the Residential Mortgage Fraud Act that will never, ever be prosecuted under RICO. I guarantee you that. Now, I haven't read any of that, but I'm guessing that I have a couple lawsuits right now where someone has violated that law. That's what I'm guessing. Forgery in any degree, that's interesting. You know, maybe RICO wouldn't be so bad, because in my practice, I see people forging deeds and shit like that all the time. So maybe they could actually like put them in jail if we had something like this. But I don't like the RICO charges because it's a catch-all. It's like, oh, well, if we couldn't actually prosecute you for the actual crime because we didn't have enough evidence, like in Thug's case, then we have this catch-all of RICO and we'll come after you under that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't think that the government should treat us that way. Illegal use of financial transaction cards. I bet that's that gift card scam. Use of article with altered identification mark. The Georgia Computer System Protection Act, identity fraud, bribery, false statements or writing false statements against public officers. That's ghetto. I don't like that. Impersonating a public officer, attempting murder, or threatening a witness in official proceedings. Why does that need to be a RICO charge? That's a charge of its own. It's a standalone charge. I don't like this. Every time I sit and watch this trial, I am so happy to be a Texan. I'm so proud that we don't have this RICO bullshit. And I'm just glad that I'm not a taxpayer in Fulton County. If I'm honest, I would be lit. I would be absolutely lit. Influencing witnesses, tampering with evidence, intimidating on injury of grand or trial juror, terroristic threats, Firearm Weapons Act, commercial gambling, distributing of obscene materials, Georgia's Controlled Substance Act, Dangerous Drug Act, marijuana, payday loans. Okay, now we talking. Now that's a fucking racket right there, y'all. So I mean, talk about some shady usury shit. Ugh. That deserves to be on a RICO law. Insurance fraud, certain felonies involving certificate of title, okay, security, or liens. Excellent. That's what I do. I do a lot of real estate, so that's why I'm interested in that. Removal of falsification, possession of motor vehicle parts, when you're stealing parts, and the abuse of elders. Shall also mean any act or threat involving murder, blah, 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 which violate the United States. So basically, if you break any law, we can get you on RICO. I just don't like that. Like, we already have the law. Go prove they broke the actual law, not some BS catch-all crap. It's ridiculous.